Good afternoon. Thank you, everybody, for joining today. I'm AJ, Head of Business Solutions for LemonadeLXP. We're a digital growth platform for financial institutions. I personally have been in the training space for 25 years and working with FIs for the last 7. So today, I sort of grouped today's agenda in 3 key areas. Number 1, why readiness matters. So what's the impact to an FI if you don't have all your ducks in a row as you're launching something? Then at the same point, we need to understand the obstacles to getting ready. So what's preventing us from doing this right? We need to identify what's getting in the way and preventing us from realizing maybe the ROI we want when we bought this tech in the first place. And the last one is sort of the proven strategy. So what's the recipe we need to follow to get and realize our expected gains? And I'll certainly provide some insight to that regard. So the first thing I wanted to do, I have 2 poll questions today. I wanted to throw up a poll question. So allow me to pull that up and see how this goes. So let's launch this. So if you guys could chime in with that feedback, hopefully I put it up. I guess nobody can contact me. If I see somebody answer it, I'll know that it's working. Yes, thank you. It is working. I'm not used to this poll thing. So I'll give everybody a couple seconds to get their answers in, and then I'll quickly share with the feedback. All right, well, it does seem that either things are coming out or, there's a reason you wanted to attend today, so I'll say that's probably a darn good thing. So I'll just flash that up on the screen so that we can all see it. And you can see, well, I could see, but I'll probably have to put on glasses. You can sort of see that there's not too many of you who have no new launches planned. So we've launched it, we've got it coming up, or a couple that have launched it in the past. Well, thank you very much for that. So the wonderful part is over the last 3 years, COVID has done a lovely job driving digital adoption usage, so much so that it's now the primary channel. So when you roll out new tech, you're disrupting the main channel from which your customers do business with you. And obviously that can be pretty risky. And any changes and additions, you make to the channel can be a pretty big deal and affect most of your customers. So we have to be mindful of what, that getting it live really means. And I get it, having gone through this myself for a long time. You get these things, you buy them and you want to get them live. And you bought them for a lot of probably good business reasons. So, keeping up the competition, growing your FI, providing better service, deepening relationships with your customers and member. But by rushing to hit that pre-planned date, you actually can hurt more than you help. It's important that we need to, minimize the impact to our customer. And we need to take the risk into account when we do this. So if you remember that sort of old adage that we've all heard a million times where, you do something well, a customer may tell 1 or 2 people. You do it poorly and you're going to hear 10, and that's not going to help you in the long run. And your customers' expectations, in fairness, have gotten higher. And I kind of look at this and I wonder, and I talk to many of you, but why wouldn't they, their expectations be high? Why wouldn't they expect that the organization that they're doing business with be able to understand and support the products in which they sell? 78, you can see the stats, 78% of support teams say expectations have increased and only 28 are confident they can meet them. So that's the in-person expectations, but also providing some decent instructions and tools for your customers can help themselves so they don't need to wait to get a simple answer. Can obviously be impossible, or, can obviously be a challenge too. So imagine going into something like the Apple Store or going online and you're searching for something or you're asking somebody for something and the people you're talking to don't know. It's probably not going to do a great amount of instilling of confidence within you and certainly drive many sales. Now, this one, I think a lot of you have to take a look back at this. Imagine this from the employee's point of view. And this is the part I think that often gets looked over when I'm speaking with you. So you imagine the combination of new tech, which seems to be happening a lot more frequently, and high customer expectations, which, that can be pretty darn stressful to the staff member. So how much are you going to love your job when so many times a day you interact with customers and you're not equipped with the knowledge or the tools to make that person happy? One of the most dreadful things is standing in front or talking to somebody that is frustrated. And more importantly, if they think you're incompetent, that is a terrible feeling. So I'll tell you what ends up happening. You're going to keep doing your job for a little while, but in the background, you're going to start looking for another job. And, the first sort of wind you get is something that's better, you're going to jump ship and you're going to be off. And now we've got a hole in that organization and the whole thing sort of starts over again. So readiness is going to have a huge impact on the ROI, and the more you're ready, the better it's going to be. So making sure your staff are ready, obviously with proper training and tools to support them in the flow of work, that's going to reduce stress and turnover. And turnover, I got into this with actually a couple different FIs in the last couple of weeks, and we were talking about when somebody leaves, you lose somebody, you got to put up resumes, then you have to sift through the resumes, then you got to set up multiple interviews, then you hire them. Those recruitment and training, the cost and the time are terrible. And then the other thing is having a system that can deliver speed to value when you're onboarding for that new tech. We need the staff at the end of the day to be confident, spot opportunities, and promote and help drive adoption. Those are the things we need to get ready. But readiness also equals having the tools for your customers, something beyond, here's our new product in an email. Like, we're all great at sending out, we've launched something new, but we need that support. Customers, done properly, will convert to your new tech faster, reducing the cost of servicing, which in a lot of cases is why we bought that tech in the first place. And if there is any revenue ties to your product, you're going to start generating them faster. Now, we have these teams that go to trade shows and different things, and they went out and they buy this new tech. They had a vision and a plan of how it was going to help the bank or the credit union. And not being ready and prepared is certainly going to derail that plan. So what are the obstacles getting in the way of making this all possible? Because it sounds pretty simple on paper. So as business owners, you're tasked with driving adoption and usage. The problem you've got is you don't necessarily have the right tools to do so. You need, you have a modern learning system to train staff so they can promote and support your tech. And you have tools to support your staff and customers in the flow of work. Now, there is the option, and I know some of you do it, where you cobble something together. And it often falls short, usually from this, what you say, because we don't have the people power to pull it off, and we maybe don't have the know-how, and people have other jobs on their plate, and it doesn't come together. So, as I said, we've got the FIs who buy it, or the people at the FI who buy it, but now we've got the people who their job is to get that tech integrated in live. And it's a tough job. And when they do, they throw their hands in the air and they're like, we did it. Now it falls to someone who has to get the training done, which is based on what you guys are telling me, is most often done with supplied product sheets that you distribute to your workforce. And yes, it's a lovely feeling for all of us. You get to put a checkbox beside your name and say, yes, my staff are trained. But come on. We know your staff aren't trained. You cannot train people on something like digital tech with a product sheet. Even 1 day worth of training is not going to do it. It's funny. I was thinking back on my training life, and I remember being trained on like something, and I'm going to date myself here, like MS Word. And there's two types of people doing this Word training. There's the people that you go to the training course or whatever, and you do it, and you start using it the very next day. Those people do a decent job remembering it. But then you've got the people who don't use it the next day, and these people are dead in the water. They can't remember how to move text, adjust paragraph, highlight text, any of those things. And so what they need is a reference to in the flow of work. They need something that they can go back to find the information that they forgot. And all the better if they can take that reference tool in your case and be able to send it to customers. So now they can find what they're looking for when they want it, and they don't need to have to call or visit somebody. Just look at the stats in this graph. I thought these were pretty high. 81% of frontline employees feel improved training tools would improve the service. And then 90% want something in the flow of work. It's the important training, because there's all kinds of training. We've all done training. There's the training that we do. But this stuff is where there's a customer in front of us, where we have the ability to be uncomfortable or embarrassed if we don't know our information. And I would probably say this is of most important the employee as well as you, because it's what's going to drive your business goals. Now, these next couple slides, when I do meetings with you, discovery calls, whatever, it's almost the same thing, whether you're a bank or credit union. And if this doesn't apply to you, consider yourself extremely fortunate. But by far, the number one challenge I hear you guys have is our staff that work for us don't bank with us. Or if they do their transactions in branch. Or because we asked, they opened a secondary account that they don't really use, or they're at the wrong life stage. The bottom line is they don't know what it's like to be a customer, and certainly a digital customer. And that's going to greatly hamper their ability and desire to spot opportunities and recommend products. And, here's the example we all have. I'll give you a simple one. Someone comes in and goes, Oh yeah, how are you today, sir? And I go, well, not that good. Oh, why is that? Well, it's my third time here this week. Oh, why have you been coming in? Well, I've actually been in to deposit checks. Light bulb goes off. We all should probably know, oh, if you heard of mobile deposit, but here's why your staff won't do it. Because nobody says, oh, that's great, I want that. They go, oh, that sounds interesting. How big of a check can I deposit? If I deposit my checks digitally, do you hold my money longer than if I come into a branch? And does it work for small business accounts? And your staff, if they don't know that foundational stuff, will look like a deer in the headlights, and they won't bring it up again because they don't want that embarrassing moment. Now, the other thing I hear from you is, maybe not as harsh as what I put on the screen, but we have an LMS and it's really built for checkbox training, and most of our people hate using it. And it's like pulling teeth to get them to do so. Now, some of you will go, well, sometimes we cobble things together to do in branch, but there's a lot of inconsistencies from branch to branch. And that consistency between branches has, remember, been exacerbated because of this great resignation. Many people are now doing all these other jobs and plugging holes while we're trying to hire new people. And what ends up falling short? Training. You need something a little bit more concrete, and that's been hurting people over the last few years. Now, your current LMS are great for what they're bought for, but they're not built to handle digital training. If you're going to learn something like digital, you need to know much more than reading from a product sheet. You need to experience all aspects of the product to truly get and be able to support it. And, in fairness, I've been talking to you for years. The amount of products and services that you guys have nowadays is staggering. So it would be challenging for even a tenured employee to remember all your key value props, let alone a new hire. And remember, if any of you have ever gone through onboarding recreates it, but a digital conversion, same thing. There's all this wonderful stuff. We'll call it 100%. 30% of it you start using in your first month and you start to remember it. But then there's that other 70%. And we need the ability to get that information. And certainly when there's a customer who brings up something that you're not familiar with and you haven't been versed in it, you remember there was training, being able to pull that up is super, super important. So now let's flip over our fintech providers. They focus on the tech, not necessarily the training. And to be honest, it's not their fault. What are they in the business of doing? Building incredible tools, not necessarily training on them. So sure, they'll provide product sheets, but again, what's the chances your staff's going to remember? Is it certainly going to be enough info for them to have the confidence to spot the opportunities and recommend? So I'm going to throw up right now my last poll question, and I'll see what your thoughts here. I'm really actually quite interested on this one. Oh, not as fast as you were on the last one. Now you're starting to come in. Oh, there's some decent number. Oh, somebody got an excellent. That's awesome. Congratulations on that one. So mediocre is sort of the grand champion right now. It's still balanced out. Bad is kind of equal to good, and excellence still the lowest. Mediocre, that's not bad, actually. Better than I kind of thought. I'll throw that up there and just end the poll. So anyways, thank you all very much for taking the time to do that. So let me give you a quick summary. Tech implementations often fail because all the focus is on the tech and not very little is put on the people who are meant to use it. So if you want to de-risk the investment you're making in your tech and maximize your returns, you need to have a confident staff and provide the right tool for your customers to want to adopt your tech. Now, you'll notice in this presentation, we've focused on new tech rollouts, but I've met with a lot of you guys, like a ton, that have new tech up and running, and even some of you said it, for well over a year and you're in the exact same problem. Your staff aren't trained properly, you don't have the tools for your customer. Now, the other thing that I'll also layer into this is products and services. You're adding new things. And again, it's the same challenge, it's just not tech. So to boil down where we kind of fit in is we fill the gap. We're the connective tissue between your tech and the people. So now I'm going to jump in. I'm going to share a recipe on how we do this. But please know the part I want you to focus on is the principles that we use to do it. And I'll try to highlight those. I don't want this to be, here's what Lemonade is. I want to focus on the pieces in Lemonade that enable us to do what we do. So I think we can all probably agree that the right solution has two sides, one focused on the customer, the other focused on the staff and giving them the level of expertise. So we're going to start with the staff. Let's start there and we'll go from there. So the first thing we need to do is we need to engage our staff. And as stated earlier, your bank or your staff have been scarred with dreadful compliance training for years. So we need an engaging system. So in the main interface of Lemonade's learning environment, we built it in the image of today's most addictive mobile and social games. And how the game works is you start with a small financial institution and community, and you do training, both your bank and community grow. Of course, the better you do the training, the more customers you earn, the faster your bank and community grow. Now, this isn't the time to get into the nitty gritty, but it was designed originally to drive participation, get people coming back regularly, take bite-sized learning bits. So the key takeaway from this is you've got to create something that's engaging. A system that's pull and not push is going to do you wonders. So then, if you're training on tech or almost anything, the first place you want to start is the foundational knowledge. And this is all the stuff I gave you in that example that a customer might ask: limits, restrictions, key value props. And this is typically done with product sheets and PDFs. And let's be honest, you give a PDF, and by paragraph 2, your brain starts to wander and you focus on what you're doing for dinner or doing after work. You're not paying attention. So what we want to do, and what Lemonade does, it morphs it into a bite-sized game. So the key takeaway is whatever you do, just do something beyond the PDF. Reading long paragraphs will put the best of us to sleep. So we've got to do something a little better than that. So now we got the foundational piece done. We want to drive fluency. As we mentioned, the staff's not banking with you. They're not using your tech. They're not going to do a great job supporting it. So you can see this person in the demo or the slide is doing a mobile deposit. The first time they play, they get guides telling them where to click. Second time, no guides. Make too many mistakes and you're starting over. So the recipe takeaway here, if you want to do it differently, is it's got to involve using your product. It's got to involve giving them a safe environment and do it. People, you need them to have that aha moment at minimum to go, wow, this was really easy. That conviction is going to come across when they're talking to the customer. So game-based learning for foundational, tech walkthroughs for fluency. Now we want your staff to be able to spot opportunities and promote that, your tech to your customers. So we can create virtual customer interactions where people come into the branch or call the contact center, and your job is to spot opportunities and promote the right product in an elegant way. And you get rated on how you did. Don't do well enough, you have to play again. So takeaway, practice these interactions, get comfortable doing them. It's so important that your staff's confidence and building repetition into it is obviously paramount. Now, we do it digitally. If you want to do role plays face-to-face and do that, it's fantastic. Just give them the ability to have the confidence. So in short, it's kind of the recipe of how we do it. Lemonade has a learning methodology baked into it, multiple types of engagement to drive the repetition, and it's going to ensure retention and better learning outcomes. Now, the other piece is we did build Lemonade to fit into the flow of work. So your staff can do training while they're waiting for a customer to come through the door. So that's so important because I come from an in-class background. And one of the biggest obstacles for me, for example, was someone saying, oh, you got to take an hour or 2 hours out of your day to do training. I'd panic. I don't have that amount of time. But if you can let me do training while I've got 5 minutes, while I'm waiting for meetings and customers and phones to ring and all these things, it's going to do a great job. But also in the flow of work means when a customer is standing right in front of you, I can quickly jump in and find the information that I may have forgotten so that I can support that customer. So your takeaway here is use microlearning. Make training easily accessible. Daily bite-sized bits is going to improve learning outcomes over those longer style classes. So that is the learning side. The next side is, of course, activating the customer and the member. And so we've got to give them the tools and the support in which to do so. So we built Digital Academy to originally overcome the adoption aversion because nobody wants to use and learn new tech and make mistakes in their real bank account. It's funny. I know that this makes me seem old, but I talked to my dad and he's like petrified of doing this. They also don't want to have to, come in or jump on a long call for a simple question. On paper, if you did a math equation of this, like goal, drive adoption, usage, and growth, and on paper, we're not going to give you any tools. And the only way to support is either do a live environment or come in or call us. My simple advice is whatever you're doing, don't do it that way. So what we did is we built a tool that allows you to create quickly branded searchable online hubs. Those same demos and simulators we used in the learning can actually be flipped, of course, customer facing. And the best practice is relatively simple. Just provide easy to use tools for your customers and plan on them being able to be changed frequently because let's be honest, in digital, changes are a constant. And these demos and simulators, we don't only show the where you click, but the why and the how, because at the end of the day, we want people to be really comfortable using our products. Now, I've seen, interactive PDFs. I've seen videos, and videos are great. I think they're almost even better as ad units because, well, they're exciting, they're dynamic, they're not as easy to change. And it's more of passive learning, which, isn't maybe quite the same as active learning when it comes to actually learning how to use a tool. So what would be the best way to use it? Obviously, giving customers what they want, where they want on demand. So I can come in, search, I want to see mobile banking. It can pull up the entire mobile banking section, or I can go bill pay and it's going to pull that exact demo. So self-help, give customers what they want, make it easy for them. Obviously, integrating this into your retail experience so that your staff can show your customers how easy having these assets that create that hip-to-hip conversation is going to do a great deal. You can integrate demos, of course, into your social pages, and search engine optimization is a no-brainer as well, so that my customer doesn't even need to go to my site. I can type in such and such bank or credit union, bill pay, and it's going to pull that demo right up. Obviously, using them for driving trial. You can not only have them in a digital academy like we did, but you can also embed them on your product pages. Another great one is integrating them in your email campaigns. So not only as like your traditional ones, hey, we launched this new product, and check out how easy it is to use it, is a lot better. Another great one, onboarding packages. Somebody new joins the bank or the credit union, send them the curated, 3 or 5 most popular demos so that you've got something interactive, and what a welcome experience it is for them. So obviously the key, pepper these through your website and digital ecosystem. But if you haven't, you've got chatbots or IVR that can be integrated into that, because allow the customer to get the help instantly they want as soon as they're having a hard time. So obviously, if we do all this wonderful stuff, we're going to cut down on the number of people needing help. But we also want to cut down on the call handling time, as well as increase the customer experience. So really, my takeaway from this is understand your own digital ecosystem and what and where are you reaching your customers. Which great areas would greatly improve their satisfaction and, of course, drive usage of your products and services. So to all you kind people, I have done my conversation, my presentation. I hope you found it valuable, and I can see right now there are already a couple of questions in the chat. So let me just pull those up. All right. So if anybody else, there's a chat button, hopefully, or there's a Q&A button, excuse me, you can throw some stuff in. Please don't hesitate. I've got 3 off the gun. How long does it take to launch one of these? I assume one of these, well, there's 2 products here. If I stay with digital, so we can have, with Lemonade, essentially what we need is a URL to create an instance, whether it be Digital Academy or a LemonadeLXP, and you're up in 72 hours. And then if we stay with the conversation of digital, we have already a bunch of pre-authored content, actually a full-blown curriculum that can be loaded into the system instantaneously. And we built it as a template so that you can go in and, what your mobile deposit limit might be different than another bank's. You can quickly plop in whatever that answer is. So by all means, it's really quick. As far as onboarding goes, it would normally be done over 1 month. But if you're like, AJ, I got to get this up quickly, we could probably have you up and live in 2 weeks. Now, if the subject is different, underwater basket weaving, which I know nothing about, again, it's sort of how long is a piece of string. But again, if you have any further questions, I'll try to dig deeper. Okay, I brought up author content themselves. So we built this system. It's a joke. Anybody who's ever met me before, the joke at the office is AJ proof, which means our content authoring is built for really nice people who maybe didn't go to school to be a tech genius. So all the content you can author yourself. That said, if you were like, we're short on people power, is there any way that your team can handle authoring for us? 100%. We've even got a new AI authoring bot in there for people that have seen this product in action. It's one of our newest releases within Lemonade. Honestly, you plop in a long text, you hit AI button, and it authors all the content for you. It's a pretty cool demo to deliver. Is Lemonade, sorry, you may notice my squinting. I really should have my glasses on, but I kind of refuse. Is Lemonade only for digital? Absolutely not. If I was to say its main focus would probably be anything that a bank or credit union deems will help with growth. So digital would be the number one by far. Products, services, soft skills, onboarding has crept up. Really, anything that empowers your front line to better understand their products and do a better job would be probably where its main focus is, but it is content agnostic. It can handle any other type of content. So I don't know if there's any other questions. That seems to be it right now. I can't thank you all enough for taking the time, and I hope it was a decent presentation. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.